All right, I have a story that I'm a couple days late to, but I wanted to make sure that nothing else came out right after because it sounded like if it was going to happen, it was going to happen immediately. But so far it hasn't, but there's still been indications. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I'm talking about the fact that Trump could be rescheduling marijuana to a Schedule 3, from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3. Now, I don't know if this is a distraction or what, because obviously there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of bad stuff going on in Trump world that he would probably like to distract from. And normally his distractions are really bad things like bombing fishing boats off the coast of Venezuela or increasing the cruelty of his mass deportation program or saying something blatantly racist about Somalians, you name it. Now, to be clear, reschedulization, is that a word? If it's not a word, I'm using it as a word. I'm sure you know what I mean. Reschedulization. If reschedulization does not mean that it's then legal. All right. It's still illegal at the federal level, but that does change a lot of things on how cannabis or hemp companies can operate and how it's viewed. We're going to go over that in this CBS News article. And even if Trump, I want to be clear real quick, I will give Trump a lot of credit if he were to do this, but even if he straight up legalized weed, I'm sorry, but that would not exonerate him like from all the other cruel shit he's doing. It'd be very good and I'd give him credit, but it's not an exoneration. Like you're going to have to like give us free healthcare, universal free healthcare or something like that in order to be exonerated or make this a little bit more nuanced. I'm sorry, but this doesn't make up for the mass deportations, the gutting of our social safety net programs, Meals on Wheels, food stamps, obviously healthcare, the cutting of important key government agencies, National Weather Service, the air traffic controllers, just FEMA, among many others. It's not going to make up for the pure unfiltered racism around immigrants and more recently Somalians, or just the normalization of that behavior. And it's just not going to make up for the fact that you are destroying unions indirectly through destroying the NLRB and directly through just straight up dissolving federal unions. So I'm sorry. Anyways, rant or side convo out of the way. Let's get into this article. It's going to give us all the ins and outs of what this could mean. And, Trump could reschedule marijuana to Schedule 3, promising tax relief, but raising new legal and industry concerns. Leave it to CBS to still take what would be an objectively good thing and add a bit of doubt to it because liberals. All right. Well, what else can I say? President Donald Trump says his administration is weighing a plan that would reschedule marijuana from a Schedule 1 drug to a Schedule 3. It's a shift that would formally recognize cannabis as having accepted medical use under federal law for the first time. On Monday, the president answered a question about the proposal to reclassify marijuana as a less dangerous drug during an event at the White House. Mr. Trump said that he was considering lowering the designation earlier this year following suggestions the Justice Department made in 2024. By the way, those suggestions made by the Justice Department, or this was already, like, the process for this to begin was already recommended by Joe Biden. Of course, Joe Biden could have just made it legal, but he's a classic neoliberal who would just rather do the bare minimum and be like, look, I'm doing something kind of good. Anyways, just remember, Biden started this last year on his way out. We are considering that, Mr. Trump said, because a lot of people want to see it, the reclassification, because it leads to tremendous amounts of research that can't be done unless you reclassify. So we are looking at that very strongly. I mean, he's absolutely right. I'm not going to come out here and disagree just to disagree. He is right. The move would mark one of the most significant changes to U.S. marijuana policy in decades, potentially affecting taxation, medical access, banking, and federal enforcement. While some industry leaders think it could bring long-awaited relief, others caution that rescheduling could expose existing cannabis businesses to new federal risk without providing full legalization. What does Schedule 3 mean for marijuana? Schedule 3 substances are considered to have medical value and a lower potential for abuse than Schedule 1 or 2 drugs. Medications in the category include ketamine, Tylenol, with codeine, and anabolic steroids. Reclassification would not legalize marijuana federally, but it would remove cannabis from the most restrictive category under the Controlled Substances Act. A change with far-reaching implications. Major tax relief for cannabis businesses. One of the most immediate benefits of rescheduling marijuana would be relief from IRS Code 280E, which prevents businesses handling Schedule 1 or 2 substances from deducting standard operating expenses. That would be huge. Cannabis is still federally illegal, but even as a federally illegal substance, the move to Schedule 3 dramatically reduces the federal tax burden for operators, said Ryan Hunter, Chief Revenue Officer at Spherex. He noted that under the current law, some cannabis businesses face effective tax rates as high as 80%. That's insane. And I don't know how you can argue against at the bare minimum reschedulizing. All right, but we'll see what the risks are here in a moment. Medical cannabis access could expand. Supporters say Schedule 3 status could legitimize medical cannabis and bring it into the mainstream healthcare. At Schedule 3, it's much more practical for mainstream physicians to prescribe cannabis products. Hunter said, adding that patients in states without medical marijuana programs could benefit the most. That's interesting. That's really interesting. And another thing why, at the very least, we should reschedule it. I mean, if Trump just wanted an easy W and wanted to make Democrats look like the incompetent freaking idiots they are, and like so much upside for so like little downside, even from like his own base, because I'm willing to bet most of his own base would support full legalization, and I can't be that far off. Like it has to be, because like broadly marijuana legalization is broadly favored. So it's something he could do and get so much political credit with a lot of people, especially normies and people who aren't as like politically savvy or as politically invested, to overlook and just straight up forget about some of the terrible things I mentioned earlier. Anyways. Industry warns of new federal legal risk. Despite the potential benefits, some cannabis leaders warn that Schedule 3 could introduce new criminal exposure under federal drug and pharmaceutical laws. I, among others in the industry, are very concerned that Trump's news of rescheduling is a false flag, said Josh Kesselman, publisher of High Times and founder of Raw Rolling Papers. Oh shit, Raw. I don't use those anymore, but like I used to. Kesselman warned that moving THC to Schedule 3 could allow pharmaceutical companies to dominate the market with synthetic THC. Oh, God. Are you real? Come on, man. Why is everyone like, it's annoying because synthetic THC, like Delta 8 and shit, it catches flack from both sides of the aisle. It takes flack from like the legal marijuana, people lobby, and it also takes flack from obviously the people who are just like, yeah, fuck all drugs. God damn it. Okay, whatever. I want to put it on the record. I am all for the market. Maybe not by pharmaceutical companies exclusively, but I'm all for the market being dominated by like Delta 8 and shit. Come on. Let's be real. While subjecting dispensaries and growers to enforcement under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. These new federal crimes include selling a prescription drug without a license, misbranding a drug, illegal distribution, and conspiracy, he added. That is I guess, a valid point. I'm not law savvy enough to know how likely any of that would actually be enforced or implemented. But I still am not convinced that this is a bad idea. Chris Fontes, founder and CEO of High Spirits, echoed those concerns, saying many cannabis businesses would be unable to legally operate in a Schedule 3 framework without FDA approval and licensure. I'm confused by this because, did these same people come out, and I could be straw manning here heavily, but did these same people come out and say hey, you could say all these same things about the hemp ban that was slipped into the spending bill that Trump signed into law just a month ago? Push towards pharma-grade cannabis standards. If marijuana is officially treated as medicine, industry leaders say operators will be expected to meet pharmaceutical-level quality and compliance standards. Whether rescheduling happens next month or next year, the direction is clear. Cannabis is moving towards pharma-grade standards, said Alex Gonzalez, president and co-founder of Calix Containers. That shift, he said, will require major investments in infrastructure, quality systems, and regulatory readiness, changes that could favor large operators and squeeze smaller businesses. That's true, but like none of this sounds bad to be ensuring like investments in proper like infrastructure and like quality control and all of that. Like, I don't know. I guess this is a thing I'd need to know more information on to make a decision, but like at face value, like it kind of sounds like good. And I don't think this would necessarily squeeze out smaller businesses, especially when we talked about earlier how it was saying, businesses are paying like an effective tax rate of like 80%. That could change. And the money saved from that alone could just like negate this squeeze. Anyways, equity, small businesses, and the war on drugs. Some advocates argue rescheduling would encourage legal participation, particularly among communities disproportionately harmed by marijuana prohibition. As it stands today, retailers are not incentivized to operate legally, said Sasha Nugent, VP of Cannabis Retail of Housing Works Cannabis Co. Reclassification would change that for thousands of businesses. Others warn the move could further disadvantage small operators. Rescheduling will further stack the odds against small operators, said Harrison Bard, CEO and co-founder of Customs Cones USA and Day Savers, though he emphasized the importance of expanded recognition for veterans who rely on medical cannabis. I'm still not sold, especially when you consider the money that even like these small businesses will be saving with it being rescheduled. Hemp market complications loom. Several leaders pointed to contradictions between marijuana rescheduling and potential restrictions on hemp-derived THC products, which we have been covering, and many of you are here as a result of that coverage. The hemp THC ban, the closing of the 2018 Farm Bill loophole, essentially. With hemp THC products set to be effectively banned next year without new legislation, loosening marijuana restrictions while eliminating hemp is completely illogical. I agree with that one. Joe Garrity, CEO of Crescent Canna. Garrity said rescheduling could push lawmakers towards a clear national framework or deepen regulatory confusion. A historic step, not full legalization. For many operators, that move would represent, overdue acknowledgement after decades of stigma. Treating cannabis as a Schedule I drug has restricted banking, crushed margins, and prolonged stigma, and no longer reflects reality. Still, industry leaders largely agree on one point. Rescheduling marijuana to Schedule III would be historic, but it is not legalization. Without additional reforms addressing banking, insurance, FDA pathways, and federal enforcement, cannabis businesses and patients remain caught in a complex and uncertain legal landscape. So yeah, again, this would be a good thing, but it is not full legalization. And it's just annoying that we keep dancing around this. Like, it has to be... Like, there's so many wins to just legalizing it. Like, the tax revenue you could bring in, the support you would just get from, like, the people on both sides of the aisle. Like, everyone loves weed, and the polls show it. And the money that could be made that could then be reinvested into public infrastructure, it's just like, this is a no-brainer. Especially when a little thing called alcohol is legal, which causes like, I forget, we just covered this in another video, like 200,000 deaths annually compared to like THC, which has 0 deaths, and any deaths that involve like THC is always some other byproduct that's like in the cart, like vitamin E or just shit it was cut with, whatever, which is already rare. We're talking less than 1,000 cases over decades. Like, it's a no-brainer. It's so much safer. Studies and reports show that in legal areas it actually reduces alcohol consumption, which is a win for public health, a win for public safety, because marijuana undoubtedly has infinite medical uses, unlike alcohol. And the safety of people and no matter what metric you're tracking, no matter just down to like just the effects that marijuana has on someone versus alcohol, it's night and day. Like, they just use like dumb examples like You're not going to hear of people getting in bar fights after smoking a joint. You're not going to see someone smoke a joint and then beat their wife. Like, you know what I mean? Just stuff like that. There's even studies that show people that, like, obviously people, if they're going to drive under the influence, driving under the influence of weed is significantly less dangerous than driving under the influence of alcohol. Obviously, no shit, don't do either, but it's just, I'm just trying to bring up, like, just the weird contradictions in our law that alcohol is perfectly okay, even though it's worse in every single way. I can't think of a way that alcohol gets a leg up on marijuana, like, anywhere. So I just want to point that out. Obviously not uh, condoling people driving under the influence. All right, let's not be stupid. Anyways, that's all I have. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below, and I will see you in the next one. If you made it to this point in the video, I just want to give a special thank you. If you enjoyed it, please hit that like button down below, and if you really enjoyed it, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button while you're down there. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I will try to reply to any and all comments that I can. Until next time, watch that video on screen.